What's up everyone, and today I've got something slightly different on the channel. I have done a deal on a 2010 Ford KA or Ka. It's a TDCi and I've taken it in as part exchange from my Volkswagen Polo R Line. Ta-da! And there you have it, one car sold. Right, let me stop you there. I know what you're thinking, another KA or a Fiat 500. Trust me, just follow the process and you'll understand more. Just like Copart, buying a car or having a Part X is just as risky because you don't know what you're getting. And normally when someone wants to Part X a car, it's for a good reason. I've never taken a Part X before, so this is a risk for me. This car isn't perfect, as with most Part X's. It does have a lot of issues. The rear light is all misted up and the alloy wheels are a bit scuffed. With a few paint chips and scuffs, the bodywork is far from perfect. With 118,000 miles on the clock, it's definitely not low mileage either. With stains all over the front and back seats and very dirty carpets, this car hasn't been cleaned in a long time. One thing that stands out on this car is all the paint is peeling off the wiper arms and this don't half stand out. Plus there's also a big mark on the bonnet. Another big risk is the engine. Now this engine is a 1.3 Tdci engine. Now these aren't as popular as the 1.2 petrol version, so am I taking a risk? I've charged the battery up already because it was flat, so I've left that overnight charging. But it's a pretty clean engine. Just needs a little bit of tidying up and TLC. If I had a new clutch, I've had a pile of receipts that I've had with it in the book pack. But it has got a water leak, and that's what that is. Don't know where it's coming from, so we're gonna have to take the front end of this off just to have a look to see where it's leaking from. Let's start it up. Don't worry about that. We can plastic weld this. It's not a problem. Plastic weld it on like that. Which sounds sweet. Okay, so I want to break down the price for you every step of the way, because this is all about making a little bit of money now on this car, and whatever we're going to make from this car is going to go back into and flip in for another car. So I took that in for the value £500. So I sold the Volkswagen Polo for £4,000 plus that. I think that was a good deal, and sometimes you've got to learn to take the deals when they appear. Otherwise you could be waiting around for someone to turn up and you're left with a paperweight. So I took the opportunity, I had the offer, and I've done that. This car doesn't need a lot of work. It's not a categorized car, so it doesn't need loads, but we still need to make it cosmetically good to look at. Plus it needs to be pretty safe and reliable. And one of them things is our rear light. It's condensation all over it. I think the previous owner said he tried to seal it up and it hasn't worked. So the best way to solve something like that is just replace it. Now I've got a second-hand one. So £42.98 has cost me for a second-hand rear light, which is going to make a massive difference to the back of that car straight away. Another issue that I've had, and the owner told me about it, is the rear wiper motor is not working on it. You can hear it, it said it gets hot, but it doesn't work. Now, a common issue with the Fiat 500 is the wiring loom tends to break in the boot as it goes to the roof. Now, I don't think that's happened on this one, and I think it is generally the motor. He's told me it's the motor, so what I've gone and done is I've gone and bought one. Fiat 500 and KA share the same platform. There are a lot of interchangeable parts, and the same part could be cheaper as a Fiat 500 than a KA and vice versa. Now when I priced the wiper motor for that car as a KA, they wanted nearly £50 for it, second hand. I'd done exactly the same search with a Fiat 500 and I have had it for £26. That's a Fiat 500 rear wiper motor, but they fit. It's the same serial number, the same numbers match. Look at the part numbers and search both, because you might be able to get them cheaper. Another thing that it needs is, I believe, the radiator is leaking. So it's leaking from where the plastic joins the metal of the frame of the radiator. So I think that is split. I have gone and bought not an original one but brand new. I didn't want to put a second-hand radiator on it because it could have lasted 5 minutes. So we've had to put a new radiator on it. £81.74. So the total, that is the total so far without the MOT. 650 quid, and we're going to hopefully get this car up to a decent standard plus my time. So fingers crossed, that's all we're going to spend. Armed with the knowledge of exactly how much my car is worth as it stands now, let's find out how much I could potentially make on it. There's plenty of sites to look at, but I've chosen eBay and Auto Trader. They're the most consistent sites to look at. Facebook Marketplace is another good site, but I find that the prices are quite low and they do fluctuate all over the place, especially in my area. So I tend not to use that as a guide for selling. What I've already noticed while searching for a 1.3 diesel, the Fiat 500 and the KA seem to be a very rare car in a diesel form. Now I don't know if that makes it more desirable or not. Looking at it, the ones that are up for sale fluctuate in price quite a lot. You go from all the way from 1,200 all the way up to 3. Obviously the main factor for the price is the mileage and the condition of the car. If we can make it look just as nice as some of these examples, then I'm sure we can make something from the car. For me to keep the costs low, I need to do all the work myself and find the parts as low cost as possible. So with everything I've learned so far, hopefully we can make a profit. So first things first, I'm going to get the car into the garage slightly so we can work on the back end, and we're going to fix that rear wiper and we're going to fix that rear light. Get that done is because I've already got the parts on the shelf ready to go. So to remove the rear light, you need to gain access to the bolts which are hidden underneath the boot lid. Underneath there are two 10mm bolts that you undo, and then the light just pulls out. The light cluster is all attached to the back of the light, so it's nice and easy. Just remember the plug that's connected as well. And when you look at this one, you can see where it's been sealed up in the past. There and all there. We've also got a bit of corrosion starting to appear there. Versus this one, it's all original and hasn't been sealed up. While the car's like this, I'm going to give this a quick clean just to get rid of all the dirt, because we probably never take the light back off again. Cleaning behind the light seems a little excessive, but after all we need to get as much money as possible for this car, so we need it looking its best, and going that extra mile by cleaning behind the lights and cleaning all the green algae off is going to make a massive difference when it comes to the sale. Just remember, it's exactly the same process to put it back on. You've got two little dowels that need to line up in the holes, and then you push it in and then it'll clip into place. If you wanted to replace a bulb, you would still have to take out the entire light to get to the bulbs. Because that was really simple and the lights don't really get clean behind them, I'm going to do the same on this side, take it off and just clean behind it so it's nice and clean and all the green is gone from inside there. Before I finish up on these lights, I just want to make sure all the bulbs are working correctly, ready for its MOT. That's better already. So So next up we need to gain access to that rear wiper motor, and we need to get these clips out first. They're plastic clips and I've used a pry tool for this. They come out nice and easy. As you can see, there's the various holes where all them clips were in. A quick test to see if this is at fault is what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that motor straight into that one there and see if it works. If it does work, then we know it's the motor. If it doesn't, then it's the wiring. But this does look quite corroded, so you should imagine that this is knackered. But we'll find out. So to release it, you've got a little clip there, you push in and pull out. So I'm just going to plug this directly straight into it and see if it works. Result, 26 quid, we got a new wiper. Now we know that works, we remove this one, put that one in. Happy days! Okay, we've got a couple of Allen bolts there, 3 altogether holding this in. Plus we got the wiper arm to take off, so we'll do that first. $10mm nut just to take the wiper off. Time for this tool again. Cracking little tool. Boom! So we're using a 5mm Allen key. You can use whatever you want. I'm just doing it by hand. So over a period of time, water penetrates inside the motor. Exactly the same, although this was for advertised for Fiat 500. So while this is open, I'm just going to spray some grease on this mechanism for the boot latch. So just spraying the boot latch mechanism is going to make a difference come the winter months, and it's just general maintenance. It'll stop it from sticking and squeaking. I was pleasantly surprised at how easy this job was. I can see why these cars are very popular, as they're so simple to work on. So result, the wiper's working, but unfortunately it's not cleaning the glass that well. So it looks like we're going to need to replace that wiper blade. It's pointless doing all our work and it doesn't clean the glass effectively. Now we've done everything to the back of the car. I think it's time we can work on this water leak and find out where it's leaking from and see if we can sort it out. The best way to do that is get it in the garage. We need to wake the sleeping monster up. Who's up for a cold start? Do you know, the sound of this car never gets old. I absolutely love it. No, it's a stunning car. Look at it, starts straight away on the button. So you're probably all wondering what's happened with the Audi S1 raffle. So the raffle was drawn on the 27th of October at 8 o'clock. And the winner was Paul Beecham. Unfortunately, Paul didn't win the car as it didn't reach the reserve for the car to be given away, but he did win £1,015, and we've also raised £91.50 for the Kidney Wales Foundation. So I want to give a big thank you to everyone who did take part. But what's next for the Audi? There's no more raffles, there's no more messing around. Find out very soon in another episode. So I'll shut this down, only to there. What I'm going to do is jack the car up so we can have a look underneath the engine to see where it's coming from, and then we'll look at taking the front bumper off and looking from there. But this water leak's quite bad, so we need to figure out where it's coming from and stop it from happening. Using a trolley jack and axle stands isn't the best way to get underneath the car. It's worked for me for now, but hopefully we can improve on it later. Right, straight away we've got a puddle forming there on the floor, which is on this corner. So it might just be a pipe that's come off and nothing else. So I'm just going to have a little quick look underneath now and see where it's leaking from. So there's a puddle there. Unless it's leaking from the radiator itself underneath here, which I think the actual seal on the radiator might have gone. There's no seals gone. It's pretty clean in there, to be fair. Like I've already had a clutch, like I've said. So I think the best way is just to start it up and see if we can see what it's leaking from. But I think we might have to take this bumper off. The fog lights weren't working. I was wondering why they're not even plugged in. So whoever's taken this off to do the work hasn't even plugged in the fog lights. So that's where they've done the clutch, I would imagine. So I've already decided I'm going to take the front bumper off. It just makes more sense to do it that way. I can actually see where it's leaking from properly, and hopefully it's a pipe, but I don't think so. I think it is the radiator that's faulty. So really straightforward on these. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 torques on the top, probably 2 or 3 at the bottom, 2 or 3 on the sides and the wheel arch liners. Straightforward, and it should pop off. So these are T27 Torx bits. So that's the front bit done. Now I don't know whether this is a Ford thing, but I don't think Fiat use these. These are Phillips or hex heads. This side, the fog light isn't plugged in either. So I was wondering why they weren't working. Well, that's why. I'm just glad it's something as simple as that. It's missing but there, it's not even in there. Now I have already done that side now, so it should just pull off. State of that. I don't even know if that still works. If that still works, I'd be in shock. But looking at it, it looks like this radiator's failed. It's leaking from the corner. I want to test this aircon rad out, because if it doesn't work, we're going to have to replace it. But I just want to see if it works. If it's blowing cold air, then wow, for a start. How much one of them is going to cost, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I know I'm not looking for mega bucks, but everything's got to work on the car at least, doesn't it? This is where it gets dangerous for me, because I like to have everything working properly as it should. To do that, sometimes you've got to spend, and this particular car, it's not worth loads of money. So if I start spending too much money, I'm going to be potentially not making anything. So although I put in a good car back on the road, it's not a good way of making money. So we need to be clever how I do this. I've already paid out £81 for a radiator. How much is an aircon rad? We're going to need a rear wiper. So things are starting to mount up, but this needs to be fixed. I can't leave it with a water leak. I'm going to start it up now and see if this aircon works. It's leaking quite badly now, but it's also leaking from the top there. So this radiator's totally at it, and as it's expected, the aircon's not really blowing cold at all. So that radiator, yeah, it's not working. What I'm concerned about is obviously if this radiator's leaking that badly, what's caused it to leak like that? Now, Has it got too hot and it's overheated and burst the radiator? That's my concern. If it started overheating, then the head gasket could be on its way out, but I don't think so. I just think it's just generally worn out. Like I said, look at the state of that aircon rad. It's done 118,000 miles now, this car, so, and it is a Ford, so they do tend to rust and they do start falling apart after a while. So to remove the aircon bolt there, it's basically one of these are E sockets. This is 12mm, it'll fit on there. As I'm trying to do that, the aircon rad is just disintegrating. If you're struggling with a bolt, sometimes if you unscrew it and then tighten it back up and then unscrew, normally just doing that makes it come undone in the end. Exactly what I didn't want to happen. A bolt has snapped, but at least it's cleared this so I can get it off. As you can tell, no gas come out of there at all. Tell me I need a new aircon rad without telling me I need a new aircon rad. Mad. Yeah, the bolt is snapped off in there. It's sheared. I did try. I undone it, done it up, done it, and I just give up. But at least that's off. No gas come out of it because there's none in there. So we got these now. I think these are 8mm to undo to take this rad off. That's not good either. Doesn't really matter because this aircon rad bolts to the radiator. We're replacing the two. It doesn't matter. Ideally I would like to have kept the screws or the nuts or the bolts, but yay. The state of that. So to remove the radiator, obviously you've got to undo the top pipe and there's a bottom pipe in that corner. You've got to take out the aircon and hang it down normally, not remove it fully. I think it's a 10mm there and a 10mm that side, which isn't the best. That's why I've sprayed WD-40 on them. And then that will release that bracket each side, and then the radiator should pop down. Do you know, I made that sound so easy, but guaranteed that's not going to be how it goes. It's going to snap and then we're going to be in a world of pain. Now if you look, that's free from there, but we need to undo that clip there so we can just pop off and get rid of all the water that's in the system. And we can put nice fresh antifreeze in as well, but we've got one there as well to undo. Let me see it. That pipe there. So what I've done as well, I unscrewed the back of the fan coupling there to release it from the radiator. That radiator is totally at it. You can see it's been leaking for a long time. Look at that. And you can see from the water, or the antifreeze, the colour on that is absolutely stinking and needs to be. Glad we're replacing all that. So we'll undo it from there now, and this should come out of the way as well, and we can bolt it to the new radiator. Now you wouldn't believe how long I've had to wait for these two parcels to come, but inside this box is the aircon radiator or condenser. Hopefully it's the right size and it's going to fit. And in this one there's should be some brake discs and pads, because obviously we want to get this car through an MOT and we don't want it to have any advisories if we can help it. But there's also some other little bits as well, so hopefully everything's inside. Rear wiper, some glow plugs, pollen filter, because that's probably never been changed, brake pads, aircon. I will list everything and how much it comes to on the board. So this is the radiator. I'm just hoping I've got this. Now, I made a mistake with this radiator and I didn't realise at the time. It cost £81.74. So £81.74 for this, and if I had just only gone on auto dock, they were 50 quid. So on the top of these you've also got rubbers, right? So what you need to do is replace the bottom brackets and put these on. So never throw the original away until you've fitted the new one. So the bottom brackets fit and screw to the front slam panel. But on the top you've got these little rubbers and they sit inside there. They just aid with the vibration. So don't throw nothing away until you've sure that everything is fitted. So next up should be the fan shroud. Oh no, that's broken. So I'm gonna have to look at that, because I think that is the resistor that gives the fan the speed and things, so we need to look at that. So that's what that plugs into on the car, on the loom. And if you look at that, that's not even connected there, look. So that's the resistor in there. Then you've got this component that sits on there, like so. So the fan housing just slides in on the one side, and then you've got two 10mm bolts that are holding onto the radiator. The aircon rad goes back on with four 8mm bolts, and then it just slips underneath the front slam panel. Then you've got two 10mm bolts that hold it in place. So I've put new bolts under there because they were rotted, but I got some spare ones. So you just got to make sure they are in at the bottom, and it clips into the top bits there. That looks 10 times better. Well happy with that. That's the old, new. That's going to make a massive improvement to the car and the way it runs just by doing that. You wouldn't believe the absolute mission I've had to try and do to get this bolt. This bolt here is the proper one for the car. Now I've had to go to Fiat for this. So the issue I had with this bolt, alright, is I had to go to my local Ford's, which was Evans also, put in the registration of the car, and yeah, unfortunately we don't carry these parts in stock, although I'm surprised they don't, because how easy this was to snap. And the parts are on back order because the factory that Ford get their parts from has got asbestos in and they can't order parts or something. The next best thing was Fiat or Griffin Mill in my case, and what I did then is put a registration of a Fiat 500 1.3 diesel around about the same age, because they can't just search out any car, they needed a VIN number for it then. So they managed to search up a 1.3 diesel and source this for me. Now this come to £3.28, which I'm chuffed about. They managed to get it, and to be fair, the customer service in Griffin Mill was second to none. I'm very impressed with how well they helped me out. Ford, there's not a lot they could do, and everything was on back order, so I'm not so happy with them. I've never really dealt with anyone else apart from Volkswagen and Audi and things, so dealing with other dealers you can really see the difference in quality, and so far I've been very impressed with Griffin Mill, so well done you. Ford, you need to up your game, I think. especially when it comes to parts, because people need parts, especially genuine parts. There's no good when you've got nothing in store or in stock, especially a bolt. Surely something like that you should have in stock, I would have thought. Never mind, that's my honest opinion. Other dealers might have had it in stock. That's the new one, and that's the one that snapped. I think they read 12 bolts, M8. So I could have replaced it with just another bolt, but it was the length I was more concerned about, because it was stuck in that aircon rad. I didn't know how long this bolt was. Well, there's actually, I should imagine, there's air, not gas, inside this. Another thing I struggled to get from the dealer was this rubber seal, so I've had to reuse mine. I've had to use some rubber grease and they seem in perfect condition anyway. With aircon, they pressure test it anyway before they put it in any gas. So we'll know when they pressure test it, we'll know if this is leaking. If it does, then obviously I'll get some new seals, but I don't think it will. Them rubbers were fine, and like I said, I put a rubber grease around them as well. Fingers crossed, I can't just leave that hold me up. So next up, we got these pipes to put back on. One there and one at the bottom. I'll put the bottom one on first. I just looked, I haven't got anything big enough to go on there. That's off there. I can't get that to clip back on. And that's the biggest Jubilee clip I've got. So it looks like it's a trip in the van to get some more. That's the choice of working on cars, trying to find the parts. Bloody hell. Nice and full. That's perfect size for this pipe. Now, before I do anything else, I've had another look at this. So if I solder that back there, that should work. I've got to at least try. Using the soldering iron is one of them skills you develop over time. For some reason, this soldering iron just wasn't getting hot enough to melt the solder. I did try, and it just wasn't having none of it. Or it could just be me. No, I don't know what it is. I can't get this to warm up enough for it to sit and melt on there. I've never been able to solder the best, and I'll tell you the truth. So that hasn't worked out. But I've just been looking on eBay, and there's one now, it's brand new for a tenner. So I'll just order one, and it's done then, because this is knackered. After looking at the serial number, I just seen that on a do not repair, so that tells you something as well, doesn't it? So before I put any antifreeze in the car, I just want to check that it's not leaking, and I'm just going to put water in there for now, but then afterwards we'll put some antifreeze in. So let's start this monster up and check the leaks. Right, so while that's charging there, it's going to take a little while to charge up a bit. I'm going to take this cover off. I can fix that, but I also want to get to these glow plugs so we can replace them as well, so we might as well do it all while we're waiting. So the engine cover is integrated into the airbox, so to remove the engine cover you need to remove the pipe on the side, and then remove the two 10mm bolts holding the pipe on. Just be careful of the sensor on the side. So to gain access to the airbox, you've got three 7mm bolts, an awkward size, so these bolts don't come all the way out. To be fair, that's pretty clean. I'm not going to change that. There we are. So underneath this engine cover slash airbox, this is foam padding that's disintegrated over time. Now all this is just crumbling into the engine. We don't want this getting lost inside when we take out the glow plug, so I'm going to move it out of the way. Now this is where things can get serious. You really need to take your time when trying to remove out the glow plugs, because these can snap in the head and that's it, game over. You need to try and drill them out or get them out without damaging anything else. These can be a nightmare, but lucky these ones come out alright. Look at the dirt that was just sitting there waiting to fall inside. So to prevent the glow plugs from sticking next time, I'm going to slap some silicone grease on them just to help for the next person, and then they don't fit. Nice one, Autodoc. This is the trouble when you buy parts, sometimes they just don't fit. So I've only gone and done the underneath all across there. I didn't want to touch the top side. It's good now. Right, that wasn't going to plan. I put it on and it split, so I've just pulled it off. At the end of the day, it doesn't look that bad without it there. That's going to break again, so I've just taken it off. Glow plugs don't fit, so that doesn't work. We're just still charging the battery, but I'm going to try and see if it'll start now, because it's been on charge a good while. Charging a bit there. I haven't got anything to boost the battery or jump the battery, so I'm going to have to try and get something. Let's try this again then. There is a bleed nipple on there, so you can just, it's a 13mm. Try and do that, you might be able to bleed the radiator from there. All that water's gone in there now, so I'm just going to fill it up with antifreeze. It's not leaking. Right, it's been a couple of days since I last recorded anything, and I bought a few bits, and let me explain to you what I bought and the reasons why. Right, when I bled all the car, so the radiator and everything's all been bled, as you can see, nice clean fluid in there. There's no leaks, there's nothing. But what I did notice is when the engine was running, that temperature gauge took a long time to warm up. It wouldn't go all the way up, and then when it did go up, it was going back down slightly. And what I found was, although the radiator was bled, this side of the engine was warm, and this return, I'm assuming it's a return pipe that comes through here and back into the top of the radiator. This wasn't even warming up. The rest of the pipes were warm, this side wasn't. In this box is the thermostat. Like I said, this was 20 quid. For the sake of 20 quid, and I think they're quite common to go on these. Quite different to a petrol. Petrol's a lot smaller. This has got a lot of connections to it. And this is the resistor. And this is my old one. In bits. So we can put that in as well. That's going to make a difference, because this controls the speed of the fan and when for it to kick in and that. So this wasn't connected, so the fan hasn't been working. So all this is going to contribute to the cooling of the car and the engine. So this was rotten, so this hasn't been working for a while, I don't think. So the battery's already disconnected. It's fully charged because we've charged it up when I've been away. So it's already disconnected. We're going to undo the battery because the thermostat is located down this side of the engine where that pipe goes. So we need to take this off. We need to move the ECU out of the way, the battery out of the way, so we give us enough room to get in there. You can see how this breaks. There's no point me putting that back on there because it would have broke again. So it looks better without it, to be fair. So at the time I would have yanked that out, it would have snapped again. So we've got 13 mils there holding this tray in place. You've also got this is bolted to it. So I'm just going to undo these connectors so it's free, and then it'll come out with the battery tray I'm hoping. So the ECU is the main brain of the car, so you really need to be careful when disconnecting it. There's pins and connectors inside, and if you bend or break or snap any of them, then you're in a world of pain. The car might not even start again, and you might even have to have a new ECU, which is an absolute nightmare. Different manufacturers have these ECUs in different places, some under the wings, some underneath the glove box, some in the engine bay. They're everywhere. But most importantly of all, disconnect the battery before even attempting to remove the ECU. Now that I've undone them 13 mils there was a clip holding this cable or the wiring harness there, which I've undone, but there's also a 10mm earth wire there, so we need to disconnect that, and then the ECU and the battery tray come out as one. Looking at it, it might have been a 13mm that goes right down there as well. On mine it was missing, so I think it was another bit to that, but it was taken off where someone's done the gearbox. The joys of working on cars. Sometimes you've got to take 2 steps forward and 3 back just to get anywhere. Back to taking the water out. Right, looking at this thermostat, we can clearly see how it goes. So we've got one big pipe there, we've got a pipe there, and I think this is the vacuum pipe there, and we've got the sensor, and we've also got 2 fittings there to undo. So hopefully straightforward, but obviously it looks a little bit more complicated because everything's plumbed in there. There it is there. So you've got a Torx there, and you've probably got one underneath there. These clips are stupid, so we're going to have to replace this clip once we take it off. It's this pipe down here that I'm a bit concerned about. It's going to be a bit harder to get off. So I've just disconnected the vacuum line. I'm assuming it's a vacuum line. Push the 2 grey clips in, and that's out of the way. I'm just removing this bracket that holds the pipes in place. So that's all I've done. Is undone the clip there for that one, the clip at the back for that pipe, and I just loosened this one off here. Just gonna undo that top and bottom bolt, and it is a T45. That was a bloody nightmare to get out, and it's supposed to be an easy job, but I struggled with that only because it just wouldn't come off, and I undone the wrong bolt, and it started dripping a little bit of oil on there, look. So whatever I undone, I'd stand back up quickly. That's out, as you can see inside. Fairly worn, and a nice shiny new one. So what I'm going to do now is just put some rubber grease, and I mean the tiniest bit, so the pipes just slide on. This red rubber grease is absolutely brilliant. It really helps lube up the rubber hoses and things, and just makes the job a lot easier. We've also got a gasket that goes in there. Just give it a little bit of rubber grease around the seal, just to stop it from snagging on anything. With a little bit of rubber grease on it as well, it'll also hold it in place and stop it from falling out while I'm trying to attempt to put it back in. I'm not going to lie, that was an absolute ball ache to try and get them bolts back in there. I just got to put the battery tray in and the ECU back in. One thing I want to do first is this here. That's where that resistor goes. I'm going to put that in first before we put everything else back in. That's the new one. Plugs into this. Just wanted to show you that it's back in there. Now for the battery tray and then the ECU. This is my favourite part, putting everything back together after completing the job. The most satisfying feeling ever, knowing that you've put it all back together and you've got nothing left over. Now with the ECU safely fitted and the battery in place, we can fit the airbox and finally fill up the water bottle full of antifreeze, ready to start the engine. I'm just going to keep an eye on that gauge, please bleed the system, and see what happens now. Right, that took a long time to get this radiator bled. There's nothing online on how to do it, but these take a lot to get to operating temperature for that thermostat to open up. The mistake I think I made was, because that wasn't opening up and it was feeling cold but this was boiling hot, I hadn't given the car enough for it to warm up to a proper temperature. Though it was showing on the dashboard halfway, it still wasn't enough. So what I did, obviously then I had to change the thermostat, which probably didn't need doing, but I've done it anyway, so it doesn't matter. When the temperature gauge got halfway, I was just revving the car up. It opened up the thermostat and then it started warming and circulating this around here. So it's cleared the blockage and now it's working perfectly. And the fan kicks in as it should. Kicks in, cools down, goes. So happy days. That's all working fine. So that's all we got left now to do on the radiator side is button up this front bumper, and that bit is done. We got the brakes to do, and it's basically a clean. Then the car should be ready for an MOT. Next up, I want to check to see how bad these brakes are. Looking at them, these discs got a bit of a lip on them, and when I move the car, it does take a little while to stop, so I think it's only right that we give the car a new brakes, especially for the new owner's peace of mind. So for whatever reason, someone has decided to tighten up these bolts so tight that I can't even undo them. It's absolutely ridiculous. I took ages trying to undo this, and boy, it didn't half bloody hurt as well. God, they're tight. But it's just no need to do any wheel nuts this tight. They should be torqued up to a spec, and that's it. Why are they done up so tight, man? I was very lucky I didn't snap a bolt on this occasion. Even the locking wheel nut is done up too tight. They were done up that tight. They've even got a bit of copper grease on them, but they were done up that tight and it didn't even do anything. Now if we look at these brakes, the pad's not too bad, but the disc is totally gone. When I first started working on cars back on the drive, one of the things I was frightened of doing was brakes. Some reason I always used to think these were really difficult to do, but there is a process to them, and if you follow it, most of them are the same. Really straightforward and a vital part of any car maintenance. If you can do this yourself, you can save a small fortune. Some garages do charge quite a bit for this. Just make sure you undo the cap for the brake fluid, so when you wind back in the caliper, then the fluid can be pushed back up into the reservoir. Otherwise that caliper is not going to go back. If you can, try and get yourself a caliper rewind set, because this has saved me no end of time, and if you are going to do brakes, this is a must for anyone. So after taking the wheel off and doing the brakes on the other side, I knew what was coming. I tried to put it off, but I thought the other side was bad, but this was even worse. I really struggled with this. So looking at this have had a new drop link this side. I didn't notice the other side, but it might have done. It's got a new, I almost would say a new drive shaft and nut, so that's good. It looks like you've had new pads, but the discs are so far gone. You should have had the discs done the same time. Everything else looks fine. Doesn't look worn, split. I have to sort that out. Looks like that's gone, so you'll then do that. I'll put a washer on it just to hold it in place, stop that flapping about. Yeah, but it's the same as the other side. We are missing one of them though. Yeah, that snapped in there, so I'm not even going to attempt to try and get that out, but we still got one that holds it in place. So I've put a washer on there to hold that in place. That's not flopping around. It looks like you've had new brake pipes at some point, so that's an extra bonus. Everything is all done on there, nice and tidy. Just got to wipe the oil off now. But this car, I've had a little bit of money spent on it, so it is a good car. So hopefully it should pass an MOT with no issues at all. But that's that side done. That's why you take the cap off, because look how much fluid's come back up. So I'm going to put the cap back on. Now I've plugged them fog lights back in, I want to see if they work. Come on! So one thing I had left to do was to replace this wiper blade. So the next stage to getting this car back to a decent standard, ready to sell, is getting it looking clean. Now this car from a distance looks immaculate, but up close you can see all the dirt marks, run marks, all in the door shuts are absolutely filthy. This car hasn't been cleaned in a long time. Like most cars of this age, they tend to get neglected inside and just don't get washed anymore. Now the seats are absolutely filthy. Now this was just used for back and forth to work, and it was just left standing in between and never used as a daily really. Unfortunately, in that time then, it just builds up and accumulates a lot of dirt and grime from the road and inside. The biggest part is the carpets and just the smell alone. What I've noticed when selling a car, a lot of people check the fuel flap and the door shuts and around the boot edges. If they look like this, then it's a big put off for a lot of people. So I'll tell you now, I'm no detailer, but I always give it a good go, and I try my best with the tools I've got. So I always start in the inside, and I always take the seats out if I can, because you can really get to the carpet and you can get to the inside of the plastic trims and underneath the seats. You can just clean so much better when the seats are out and out of the way. And this particular car was so dirty that it needed the seats coming out just to clean that carpet. Look how long that grime has been in there for. It's probably been in there since new. And these seats on these particular cars are so easy to come out. There's only 4 M-spline bolts to come out, and then it just lifts out of place. And there's only one plug on the driver's seat, so nice and easy. These rubber mats are gone rock hard from being in the car for so long. But this is an original KA mat, and I'm going to see if I can try and save that one. As you can see, the build-up of dirt all along the car, inside, around the mats and the edges. I'm also taking the back seats out, and to do that there's 2, I think, 19mm bolts, and then out it comes. Really light and easy to come out, and you can get to them awkward places, normally where the kids ram their little sweet wrappers and sweets. Now with all the seats removed, you can really see how dirty the car was, but it really makes a difference when cleaning it. So I'm just trying to get up as much of the surface dirt as possible using my Henry, and then I'm just disinfecting everything, because you just don't know what's been in here and what's been touched, and how it's just everything is dirty. So I'm just using a bit of elbow grease. It's a good cheap cleaner, and it's a good disinfectant, and I'm going to go around with my brush and try and free up some of the dirt and grime that's embedded into all this plastics. So when cleaning the car, the pedals are normally just left as they are. Going the extra mile and giving these a clean as well adds to the effect of a looked after, maintained car, and it also gives the buyer a nice experience when sitting in the car. So to help with a deep clean, I'm going to use my Karcher. So I bought this off the Facebook marketplace around about 2 years ago for about £400 at the time, and it was practically brand new, but an absolute brilliant tool, and I'd be lost without it now. It really helps get that interior looking really good. So as you can see, I'm using this brush head attachment that just attaches to your drill, any standard drill, and I got it as a multi-pack off Amazon, all different attachments and different brush heads. Absolute brilliant tool if you need to get into them awkward places or can't get any of them stubborn stains out of the carpets. It really does a good job of getting those awkward ones up. So next up are the seats. Now these have seen some arses in their time by the look of it, and they really need a good clean. Now this Puzzy makes short work of it, and these seats are coming up like new. I'm well happy with the results. Another place that often gets overlooked are the seat runners and guides. Now these do accumulate a lot of crumbs and dirt over the time, and to get inside there with a brush and give them a good clean, it makes a difference. Really does make the car look fresh and clean. Even the little cubby hole underneath the seat needs a good little clean, as it builds up dust and dirt, and the plastics around the seats and the seat belt and that. It just needs that extra little touch. Now you saw the state of this original car mat. It was a KA badge on it, you couldn't even see it. I just really wanted to see how well this come up for a bit of fun really. And you can really see how dirty this was. But if it does come up clean, it's going back in. Why not? Safe to say that was an excellent result. That mat has come up like new. Now I'm not going to bore you too much with the initial cleaning on the outside, but this is just a pre-wash just to get to the wheel arch liners and then hard to reach places. So I'm just using some pre-wash that's been mixed up in a bottle, and I'm just going around with a brush in them hard to reach places just to get rid of that algae that the jet wash just can't touch. Doing this just makes a difference when I come in to clean the car. I never used to do this before. I used to just give the car a quick wash and that was it. Putting the effort in now will really pay off when it comes to taking them pictures and putting it up for sale. It's going to make the car stand out and make it a little bit more desirable than some of the other ones that's up for sale. Now, I'm no car detailer, but I'll give anything a try, and I bought this a few months ago and it's been absolutely brilliant. Just trying to get rid of that marcus on the bonnet. I'm going to end up doing the old car, and I'm just trying to revive this old paintwork and get some of the swirls and scratches out. What a difference a wash can make and a clean. The car has come up really nice. The interior looks like new, all the marks and dirt is gone, and the car smells fresh. So next up, we really need to sort out them wiper arms because it don't half let the car down. Plus, we've also got to take the car for an MOT. Yeah, these are in really poor condition. Now, I could go out and buy new ones, but for the sake of it, I've got the paint here, so I can sand these down, don't take long. So it's a 13mm for these. And once again, I'm going to use my trusty puller. There's one. So I'm just going to continue to sand these down so I got a nice and smooth edge and there's no flaky paint on it, and then I can spray them then. Nice satin black. So my wife took the KA for an MOT while I was in work, and sadly it failed. So we've got to work on the fails and get it so we can pass an MOT and then eventually get it up for sale. I've done loads to the car, but we still got a little bit more left to do, and then it'll be up for sale. Let me show you what it failed on. I'm quite surprised that it's failed, really. I was expecting a few advisories but nothing else, but there you are. So we've got a near side front suspension arm, and then we've got a near side brake cable insecure. I think I know what that is. We've got the offside suspension arm ball joint as well, plus we've got a rear tyre that's on a low, on a limit, plus we've also got the front coil springs are corroded on both sides, but that's just standard Ford and Fiat rust. But most cars have advisories for coil spring corrosion or a bit of subframe corrosion. Whilst I've been working on the KA trying to get it ready and up for sale, I've been busy working on my garage. I've added new flooring and cabinets, but most of all it was missing one thing, and that was a ramp. I've finally done it and got myself a scissor lift. This is going to make a massive difference working on the cars. The hardest part about this lift was trying to install it without no electric. I've managed to think of a way of doing it, and that was with solar power and batteries. My dream was to have a unit. One day I might just have that. For now, I've got to make do with what I've got, and I've managed to overcome the obstacles in front of me, and I've managed to get a lift and power to this garage just on batteries and solar power. The garage is looking absolutely amazing, and I couldn't ask for any more. There's a more in-depth video on my garage update, and you can actually see how far I've come from start to finish. So if you watched my video all the way up to this point, thank you very much. But why not head over to that video and watch that next. While you're at it, like the video and subscribe. So one of the biggest issues I had is, will the ramp actually be able to lift the car up only on battery power? Well, hopefully it will. The second issue is the lift rises to over a metre high. Will the lift fully extend with the car on it and not hit the roof? I've never tested it. Hopefully it will work and it'll fit. Otherwise all this would have been for nothing. Because the car failed on lower arms, that means we've got to take the front bumper off again. So I'm going to do that first before I raise it up in the air, because we need to conserve that battery power on this lift. Otherwise the car will be stuck and I can't get it down. So my LED lights use about 3 watts of power, and the lift does use quite a lot of power when starting up, but it does drop down to about 30, and I'm very lucky that I can run both and it works perfect. That inverter has paid for itself already. The only problem is them batteries are not going to last using this lamp all the time, so I got to conserve the power and use it wisely. So much easier to get underneath the car. I will show you underneath the car. I want to show you how tight this is. How's that for close? But now I can get to all the arch liners. I'll take these wheels out and we can get to these arch liners easier, and underneath the bumper, just to take it off out of the way a lot quicker. Now, after editing this back, I've realised, I know some of you in the comments are going to murder me, I should have taken the wheels off before I lifted the car up. I've never had a ramp, so I'm learning, so be kind. So much easier now. I can get to these screws with the wheels off. So now the car's like this. I just want to show you underneath before we make a start. This is mad how I can get under here. Right, there's the lower arm. I don't know if you can see that. That's what it's failed on, because that is all split there. So the issue you got with this design is you can release it from there. You can do that bolt, but the one in there, which is, just show you, tucked away neatly in there. See there? In there. You can't get that out unless this is moved out of the way. I remember that from the Fiat 500 is exactly the same. So you need to undo this. So to do that, you've got to take the front bumper off to undo this, to get this out of the way, to get to that bolt, to undo this. And it's the same the other side, exactly the same. So that's what they failed on there, which is mad because I can actually see everything under the car. This is going to make life so much easier. So let's crack on and start undoing these bolts. So these are a 14mm. So these two bolts are 18 and I think that's a 16. So that is the bolt that you need to get to. So to do all our work just for that bolt, it's a cracking design, but there you are. So we can get this lower arm out now. So what I'm doing now is just put a little bit of rubber grease. So what do you think of that? This job would have taken ages on axle stands, and I made short work of it. It's quite a difficult job. The lift made the job so much easier. So that's all back in, all nice and secure. That's all bolted in there and there. I haven't done there yet because I need a jack to push up on this to get it right in, and then I can do that pinch bolt up there. So I'm going to need to lower it down for that, but it means it's up in the air. I don't want to use as much electric as possible to run it. So we're going to lower that side. I do that side, but I'm not going to show you this side because we've already done it once. I'm just going to crack on, do that side, and then we lower the car down to button these up, and then stop putting it all back together. So much easier with a scissor lift. Unbelievable. This would have taken ages on the floor. That took me about half hour, if that. On the driver's side, the only difference is you need to remove the washer bottle and the aircon pipes to gain access to the chassis leg. Right, that water bottle's back on, aircon pipes are back on, that lower arm is done, it's all in, and that side's done. That's all we're going to do now is lower the car down so I can get the trolley jack underneath, so I can basically pump these up to a point where they're all the way in, and then I can put the bolt back in. Right, I'm going to try something, only because I'm trying to preserve as much of the power as possible for the lift. I don't want to be taking it up and down because it's going to drain them batteries quick, especially in the night. We're not getting much sun in the day either, so they're not charging up fully. So they're on 23.5 at the moment, and this is they're 412, so it's 24 volts. Got a little idea how I can press this back on without lowering the suspension or the lift down. Now if you look at that, that's compressed in there, and now I can put the bolt through there. So that's worked a treat actually. You're always finding new ways of doing things with cars, and that's worked a treat. So before I put the rest of the car back together and get it back on the ground, I just want to show you the underneath of the car. It's relatively clean. It's a good little car, to be fair. And now we've got them lower arms done. It's going to make a big difference to the handling in the car straight away. So what I'm loving about this ramp already is I can actually get to everything in the back as well. Which is this, you know, I'm absolutely loving this. But that's all it is. It's just a bit of corrosion, surface rust. Everything is fine. It looks worse on camera, but it's not actually that bad. But that lower beam's fine, or the rear beam is fine. Everything is fine under here. Like I said, this isn't a category car, and I've seen a hell of a lot worse on a lot newer. So it's fine. It's just a bit of surface rust, but this car will go for another couple of years, that's for sure. Exhaust is all good. It's not hanging off. Solid. So it's a good little car. And the rear tyre, I just wanted to show you that. To be fair, it's just over the minimum. It's not that bad. You've got a couple of thousand miles left in that before it needs to be rechanged. The other side is perfect. Plenty of tread on that one. Now if I started changing everything on the car, then I'm not going to make nothing at all. So that can stay, and the next owner can replace that in time. It doesn't need to be changed straight away, and it'd be a waste just to change it now. And the other advisory, I was trying to look to see what it was, is brake pipe insecure. Now everything is secure on here. The only thing it really wasn't was this. When I changed the brakes, this was clipped in like that, I think. So it wasn't quite secure. So actually it was only a brake wear indicator that's insecure. So I think that was a bit harsh. But that just slips on there like that. So I've taken this bumper off about 50 times already. I've taken the wheels off I don't know how many times. So I'm just going to crack on, put the front bumper on, get the wheels on and lower it down. And then we've got one last job for an MOT again, and that should be it. So next up is the wiper arms, because obviously we've sprayed them. Now it's time to put them back on, and hopefully they look better than what they did when they come off. KA finally passed his MOT with 2 advisories. I left the tyre and didn't replace it, as we can negotiate that on the sale of the car. The coil springs we can live with. The car has turned out a fantastic looking little KA, and it's an excellent car for someone who's just passed a test or learning to drive. The interior has come up like new, and it smells nice and fresh. I'm well happy and chuffed about the way this car's turned out, and it wasn't that difficult because I'm so used to category cars. I'm just hoping for someone to come and buy it now, and we can move on. So the very last bit to do is find out how much we've actually spent on the car and see if it is a little bit of profit in it. Now the question is, was it worth taking a part X and trying to fix it and get it back on the road and earn some money from it? So I'm going to go through the figures and show you exactly what I spent and how much I'm going to put it up for, and hopefully we can sell the car and make a little bit of profit. The only thing this doesn't include is my time and labour, which you should include, but this is only a hobby for me. So like I've said in previous videos, I don't cut my labour, as I'm just doing it as a bit of fun. So as we know, the KA cost £500, or I added in the part X for £500. So that was a good base to start with, and that came off the price of the Volkswagen Polo. The rear light cost £42.98. Now I've looked on Facebook, I could have possibly got it a little bit cheaper than that, but a lot of the time it was the postage on eBay that cost a lot, and that was the cheapest I could get it for at the time, without searching loads of breaker yards and things. I just haven't got the time to do that in between work. A lot of the time I'm filming and doing things on the weekend. A lot of things are closed, so I rely on things being delivered really. Rear wiper motor was £26 done. Front radiator was £81.74. Now I know I made a mistake on that, because I could have got that from Autodoc for £50. So that was a mistake that I've learned. We need to shop around a bit more, so I've learned that. Now the brakes, aircon rad, wiper and filter. The filter is a pollen filter. That's going to go for the aircon when that's done. So I'm going to replace that as well. All that come to £100, which is not bad, to be fair. The thermostat, £18.90, which I thought was an absolute bargain for that. Obviously the fitment, if you were taking all this to be done in the garage, would probably cost a lot. The aircon regas is £65. Now I've tried to get a Groupon code, which you normally can for ATS, but it's expired on the app and I can't get one. So £65. It's not been done yet. It's booked in for Tuesday. My wife's going to take it there to have it done, and then that's finished. So the car will be finished then, but everything else is working. And like I said, she's had to take it for an MOT, so she's done all that while I've been in work, so I haven't been able to film it, but she's done all that for me. The MOT cost £45. It failed on lower arms, lower ball joints and things. Now I know how much of a pig this job is to do, and if we were taking it to a garage, it would probably cost a lot in labour, because the lower chassis legs have got to come off for it to get access really. So that is a nightmare. But then I got them lower arms off eBay, and they were the cheapest around, and they cost, for the pair, £47.95. I could have gone to main dealers, but they were like £70-80 each, plus labour on that. I would have thought you're looking at least 200 quid. So you'd probably look at about 250 quid for that job alone. So I've saved money by doing it myself. So the total spend on the car, including the car itself, was £922.57. All in all, that car owes me £922.57. As it stands, all done, all sorted. The wipers, I done the wiper arms, but it didn't cost me anything because I already had the stuff here, so technically it didn't cost anything. So the sale price, I'm going to be putting that. I've looked a lot on these cars, and the prices fluctuate all over the place. It's a nice model. It's a Z-Tech model. It's got aircon. It's got heated front screen, rear screen. It's got alloy wheels. It's a nice colour. It's a desirable colour. It's a 1.3 diesel, so it's got things going for it. So hopefully we can get a decent amount for it. So, and it's not categorised, which is the most important. It's an uncategorised car, so it's a clean titled car. So it shouldn't have no issues in selling it. But I'm going to sell it for, or put it up for, $1,850. There's a nice bit of profit in that if I can sell it for that. But I can also, if I wanted to, reduce the price if I need to, and I've still got a nice little bit of money in that one. Fingers crossed I can get close to that and we've made a bit of money. That is a massive amount of money, if I can, to put into our next project. So the question is it worth taking in a Part X and repairing it and getting it back up for sale, or just getting rid or not even doing it at all? I think I've been lucky on this one. The guy that Part X the car, Carl, to be fair, is an old friend of mine, and he watches the channel. So he hasn't done the dirty on me either. He's sold me a car that needed a bit of work, but he knew that I could make possibly something off it. So he's done me a bit of a favour there. I've always been a bit cautious with Part X's, especially I've had a few offers on the Audi S1 at the time for Part X and things, and I'm a bit nervous about it. Would I do it again on a lower price car? Then yeah, why not? It's less risk, you've got less value in a car, and potentially you could make something on it. So you just got to be very careful and still do the checks to make sure that it is a decent car and it is worth what you offer them and what they take for it and what they give you. Because more often than not, when someone Part X a car, it's because it's basically a shed.
Luckily enough, this one, it's had a lot of work spent to it on the past, so, and I've had the 2 keys, I've had the history, some of the history with it, so it was great because I could actually speak to the owner and find out a little bit of the history about the car and what they've done to it and what they've used it for. When you buy it from auction or Copart, you have none of that. You don't know anything about the car at all. You've just been given 1 key, no service history, you repair the car, and then you find out that there's something seriously wrong with it. In this case, I'm hoping it's going to work out all right, and we're going to make a little bit of money off it, fingers crossed, and we can move on to the next one. Join me in the next video when you find out if I've sold the car, we've made a little bit of profit, and if we are working on the next one, hopefully. I want you to comment below, tell me what you think about this type of content. Do you like it? Have you enjoyed it? And the length of the video. I've tried to do it all in one video this time, just to show the whole process from start to finish. I know it's a long episode, but I thought, why not give it all in one go rather than break it up into little segments, and you'll have part 1, part 2, and before you know where you're 10 videos into a project. I wanted to keep it to one. I wanted to comment below, prefer this type of format or not, and don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you wish, I have got a members option there that gives you little perks as well. So if you wanted to join that, I am grateful for everyone that's give the positive feedback on the garage video. I'm well happy and blown away about how well that's done. That garage is going to make a massive difference, as you've already seen. Working on the car has speeded up the process so much for me, and that's what it's all about, making things quicker and easier. And that ramp has made a massive difference already, so I'm well happy about the way that's turned out. Plenty more coming, and if you carry on supporting me like you have, we're going to bring plenty more different projects coming soon. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in a bit, guys.